Dr. Han Tae-won looked out the small window of the shuttle as it approached the massive alien ship. Stars glittered against the darkness of space. His heart beat fast in his chest. After years of studying alien biology from Earth, he was finally going to meet real aliens. Preparing to dock with the Galactic Council vessel, announced the pilot. Tae-won checked his uniform one last time. As Earth's top xenobiologist, he had been chosen to represent humanity in this first official scientific exchange. The responsibility weighed heavily on his shoulders. The shuttle shuddered as it connected with the alien ship. With a hiss, the airlock opened. Tae-won took a deep breath and stepped through. 3 aliens waited for him. They looked almost human, except for their blue skin and large silver eyes. They were all female, tall and slender with no hair on their heads. "Welcome aboard the Starlight research vessel," said the tallest alien. Her voice had a musical quality that his translator conveyed perfectly. "I am lead researcher Nari of the Adarian Science Division." Tae-won bowed slightly. "Thank you for having me. I am Dr. Han Tae-won from Earth." Nari studied him with unusual intensity. "Your journey was comfortable, I hope?" "Yes, very," he replied, feeling like a specimen under a microscope. "Excellent. We will show you to your quarters, then begin the tour of our facilities." As they walked through gleaming corridors, Tae-won noticed that all the crew members they passed were female. Each one stopped to stare at him with the same curious intensity. "I hope you don't mind my asking," he said carefully, "but I've only seen female Adarians." Nari nodded. "You are observant. The Adarian species is entirely female. We reproduce through genetic replication." "Cloning?" Tae-won asked, his scientific curiosity piqued. "Yes, though our methods are more advanced than what you might call cloning." "Come, we can discuss this in the research center." The research center was enormous, filled with equipment both familiar and totally alien to Tae-won. Scientists moved between workstations, their blue hands manipulating holographic displays. "Our species faces a crisis," Nari explained as they entered her private lab. "After thousands of years of genetic replication, we are experiencing deterioration. Each generation becomes less stable than the last." She brought up a display showing DNA sequences. Even with his limited understanding of Adarian biology, Tae-won could see the problems: breaks in the sequences, unstable patterns. "We need fresh genetic material to strengthen our species," said another scientist who joined them. "I am senior researcher Mina. Your species interests us greatly." "Why humans?" Tae-won asked. Mina smiled. "We have studied many species across the galaxy. Humans show remarkable genetic adaptability. Your species evolved on a single planet with rapidly changing conditions, forcing you to adapt quickly." Tae-won felt a growing unease. "And that's why I was invited here? To provide genetic samples?" "That is part of it," Nari admitted. "But also to establish scientific cooperation. We have much to learn from each other." Over the next few days, Tae-won underwent extensive medical examinations. The Adarians took blood samples, tissue samples, and performed full-body scans. He submitted to the tests willingly, understanding their scientific importance, but couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to their interest than they were revealing. One evening, as he was reviewing the day's research in his quarters, he overheard 2 Adarian scientists talking outside his door. "His genetic structure is perfect," one said excitedly. "The repair sequences could save our entire species." "The council will be pleased," replied the other. They were right to designate him as the prime candidate. "Yes, the term they used, what was it? That Earth term for superior male genetic stock?" "Breeding bull," the other replied, her translator struggling with the unfamiliar concept. "An unusual term, but appropriate given his potential contribution." Tae-won froze, his blood turning cold. Breeding bull? Is that how they saw him, not as a scientific colleague but as genetic stock? Before he could process this disturbing revelation, his communication pad lit up with a message from Nari. "Dr. Han, please join us in the main conference room." The High Council wishes to speak with you about a formal proposal. Taewon stared at the message, his mind racing. He had come to share scientific knowledge, not to become a genetic resource. Yet he couldn't deny his curiosity about what exactly the Adarians were proposing. With a deep breath, he stood up. Whatever was coming, he would face it as both a scientist and a representative of humanity. But first, he needed to understand exactly what breeding bull meant to the Adarians and make sure they understood what it meant to humans. Taewon entered the conference room with a knot in his stomach. 5 senior Adarian officials sat at a curved table, their blue skin almost glowing under the soft lights. Nari stood to greet him. Dr. Han, thank you for coming. The High Council is eager to discuss our proposal with you. He took the offered seat, trying to keep his expression neutral. The eldest Adarian, with pale blue skin that had faded with age, spoke first. Dr. Han Taewon, we have reviewed your genetic profile extensively. Our scientists confirm you possess the adaptive sequences our species needs for survival. Another Adarian slid a tablet across the table. Taewon picked it up and began reading. His eyes widened at the title, Formal Request for Designation of Human Male Han Taewon as Primary Breeding Bull for Adarian Genetic Renewal Program. The room seemed to spin around him. He placed the tablet down carefully. I believe there may be a misunderstanding, he said, keeping his voice steady. On Earth, this term breeding bull refers to animals used solely for reproduction. It's not a term we use for sentient beings. The Adarians exchanged confused glances. The eldest spoke again. Our translation matrix selected this term based on your language patterns. It indicates a male of superior genetic quality chosen to improve a species' genetic line. Is this incorrect? Taewon took a deep breath. The definition is technically accurate, but the context is wrong. Humans don't designate other humans this way. It's considered dehumanizing. Nari's face flushed a deeper blue, their version of embarrassment, Taewon had learned. Most distressing, she said quickly. We intended no offense. How should we refer to your potential role? Perhaps genetic consultant or donor? And I need to understand exactly what this role involves. Mina stepped forward with a holographic display. Allow me to clarify, Dr. Han. We do not propose physical breeding. Our reproduction does not work that way. We would extract specific genetic sequences from your cells and incorporate them into our replication process. The display showed Adarian DNA strands being repaired with human genetic material. Taewon felt both relief and continued unease. So you want my DNA, not physical reproduction? Correct, Nari said. Physical reproduction between our species would be biologically impossible. We require only your adaptive genetic sequences. Taewon nodded slowly. I need to report this to Earth. This kind of genetic sharing requires approval from our scientific authorities. Of course, the eldest Adarian agreed. We will revise our terminology and prepare a more appropriate document. Later that evening, Taewon sat in his quarters, preparing his report to Earth. How could he explain this without causing a diplomatic incident? His communication console chimed, indicating an incoming message from Earth Command. Dr. Han, began General Park, her face stern on the screen. We've received disturbing reports that the Adarians have designated you as she checked her notes, breeding bull. Is this true? Taewon winced. General, there's been a translation error. They're requesting genetic material for scientific purposes, not physical reproduction. That's not how it sounds in their official request, which has already been transmitted to 17 Earth nations. The diplomatic corps is in an uproar. Taewon felt his heart sink. The Adarians are already preparing revised documents with more appropriate terminology. Too late. The Chinese representative is demanding your immediate return. The European Union has filed a formal protest with the Galactic Council. And social media is having a field day with memes about human breeding programs. It's a simple misunderstanding, Taewon insisted. Their language doesn't have the same connotations as ours. They're facing extinction without genetic diversity. The door to his quarters slid open, and Nari rushed in, looking distressed. Dr. Han, we have received 17 formal protests from Earth governments. They believe we are, she struggled with the words, harvesting humans for breeding stock. This is not true. General Park's eyes widened on the screen. Is that an Adarian? Are they monitoring your private communications? No, General, this is lead researcher Nari. She's trying to fix the misunderstanding. Nari bowed to the screen. Honorable Earth representative, we meant no disrespect to your species. Our translation matrix failed to capture the cultural nuances of the term. Over the next hour, Taewon found himself mediating between an increasingly suspicious Earth command and the distressed Adarians. By midnight, he had drafted a joint statement explaining the misunderstanding and detailing the actual scientific proposal. As he finally prepared for sleep, exhausted from the diplomatic crisis, Mina appeared at his door. The High Council wishes to apologize for the unfortunate terminology, she said formally. They also ask if you would assist us in creating a cultural database to prevent future misunderstandings. Taewon smiled tiredly. I think that's an excellent idea. We clearly have much to learn about each other. Indeed, Mina agreed. Though I admit, I am still puzzled by why humans would be offended by being recognized for superior genetic qualities. Taewon sighed. Cultural misunderstandings, it seemed, would not be resolved in a single day. The laboratory hummed with energy as Taewon peered into the microscope. 3 months had passed since the embarrassing translation incident. Now, properly titled as Genetic Research Consultant, he worked closely with the Adarian scientists each day. The cellular repair is holding, he announced, looking up from the microscope with excitement. The human DNA sequences are bonding with the Adarian cellular structure. Mina rushed over, her blue face showing rare emotion. She looked through the microscope and gasped. This is extraordinary. Previous attempts always failed at this stage. Taewon stepped back, allowing other scientists to take turns observing their breakthrough. After weeks of failed experiments, they had finally managed to incorporate human adaptive genes into Adarian DNA without rejection. What did you change in the process? Asked Nari, who had become his closest colleague. I noticed that your approach was too direct, Taewon explained. Human DNA has protective mechanisms that resist outside manipulation. Instead of fighting against these protections, I used them as a bridge. He pulled up the genetic model on the main screen, showing how the human repair sequences had been coaxed into accepting the Adarian DNA as something to protect rather than reject. Brilliant simplicity, Nari murmured. We would never have considered this approach. The discovery marked a turning point in their research. Word spread quickly throughout the massive research vessel. By evening, scientists from other species began appearing at their laboratory, eager to see the results for themselves. A tall, insect-like alien named Kodo, from a species called the Trell, examined their results with particular interest. My species has suffered genetic damage from solar radiation, he clicked through his translator. Could human adaptive genes help us as well? Before Taewon could answer, more requests came in. By the end of the week, 7 different species had requested similar genetic consultation. Suddenly, humans were in high demand throughout the Galactic Council. I never expected this, Taewon confessed to Mina as they shared a meal in the ship's dining area. On Earth, we always thought we would be learning from advanced aliens, not teaching them. Mina made a musical sound that Taewon had learned was Adarian laughter. Perhaps the most advanced knowledge is not always technological. Your species evolved under harsh, constantly changing conditions. This forced adaptability into your very cells. While other species evolved in more stable environments, Taewon nodded, understanding. You had less need to develop these repair mechanisms. One evening, as Taewon was recording his daily log, an alert sounded throughout the ship. The Adarian High Council had arrived for an inspection of their progress. The laboratory was quickly transformed into a presentation space. Taewon stood beside Nari as they demonstrated their breakthrough to the council members. As you can see, Nari explained, showing a simulation of cellular regeneration. The human adaptive sequences allow our DNA to repair itself after degradation. Each new generation will grow stronger rather than weaker. The eldest council member stepped forward to study the results. And this will not change who we are? We will remain a Darien in all essential ways? Absolutely, Tae-won assured her. These specific gene sequences affect only cellular repair. They won't change appearance, intelligence, or any other traits. They simply allow your cells to fix damage before it becomes permanent. The council seemed satisfied. As they prepared to leave, the eldest turned to Tae-won. Dr. Han, your contribution to our species will not be forgotten. We have prepared a formal acknowledgement of your work to be sent to your Earth government. Tae-won bowed respectfully. Thank you, but this has been a collaborative effort. Your scientists taught me as much as I taught them. After the council departed, Nari revealed more exciting news. They've approved the next phase, creating the first test embryos using the modified genetic structure. 2 weeks later, Tae-won stood with the Adarian team as they gathered around the incubation chamber. Inside, 5 tiny Adarian embryos grew steadily, their cells dividing normally under close monitoring. All genetic markers are stable, Mina reported, reading the data. No signs of degradation or mutation. Tae-won felt a profound sense of accomplishment. These would be the first Adarians in 10 generations born without genetic deterioration. As they celebrated their success, a message arrived from Earth. The United Galactic Relations Committee requested Tae-won's presence at an emergency session. Other species had begun requesting human genetic consultants, prompting concern among some council members about this sudden shift in human status. They worry we are becoming too influential too quickly, Tae-won told the team as he prepared for the journey. Nari placed a gentle blue hand on his shoulder. You have changed how the galaxy sees humans. No longer are you the newcomers, now you are the species with something unique to offer. Tae-won nodded, realizing how dramatically things had changed. From breeding bull to respected genetic innovator, it was quite a transformation. As he packed his research notes, he wondered what new challenges awaited him at the Galactic Council. The Galactic Council chamber was massive, with hundreds of seats arranged in rising tiers. Tae-won felt small as he walked to the central speaking platform. Representatives from over 50 alien species watched him with curious eyes, tentacles, or sensing organs. Dr. Han Tae-won of Earth, announced the council speaker, a tall being with golden skin. You have been called to address concerns regarding human genetic sharing programs. Tae-won cleared his throat. He had prepared for this moment, but facing the entire council was intimidating. Thank you for allowing me to speak, he began. 3 months ago, I helped the Adarian species incorporate human adaptive genes into their genetic structure. This collaboration has been successful, with the first healthy embryos now developing. A rumble of conversation swept through the chamber. The speaker raised a hand for silence. We have received 17 formal requests from different species seeking similar programs with humans, the speaker said. This rapid shift in galactic power dynamics concerns many council members. A crystal light being floated forward from the Kalari section. Its voice resonated through the chamber like glass bells. Humans have been part of galactic society for less than 10 Earth years, the Kalari representative said. Now suddenly they control genetic technology that many species desperately need. This gives them undue influence. Tae-won shook his head. We don't control this technology. We're sharing it freely with any species that needs it. For now, interrupted another representative, a 4-armed being with red scales. But what happens when humans realize they can demand special privileges in exchange for their genetic material? The chamber erupted in debate. Some species supported the humans, while others expressed fear and suspicion. Tae-won waited patiently until the speaker restored order. Dr. Han, please continue, the speaker said. Humans don't see this as a power advantage, Tae-won explained carefully. We see it as an opportunity for mutual benefit. Yes, our DNA contains unique adaptive sequences, but every species has valuable traits to share. He displayed holographic images showing the successful Adarian research. The breakthrough came from combining Adarian cloning techniques with human adaptive genes. Neither species could have succeeded alone. This is collaboration, not domination. A large, plaid-like being rustled its leaves, and what Taewon had learned was applause. But the Kalari representative was not satisfied. The term breeding bull appeared in early Adarian communications, the crystalline being chimed. This suggests humans were viewed as genetic resources, not equal partners. Taewon winced. The unfortunate translation error had followed him to the council. That was a translation mistake that was quickly corrected, he said firmly. I am not a breeding bull. I am a scientist working with other scientists. Yet 17 species now seek human genetic material, countered the red-scaled representative. Will humans provide this to anyone who asks? Without regulations? Taewon hadn't expected this question. Earth had not established clear policies on interspecies genetic sharing. He took a deep breath and decided to speak from his own perspective. I believe we need shared guidelines that protect all species, he said. Human genetic material should be available to species facing survival threats, like the Adarians. But we need ethical frameworks to ensure proper use. The chamber fell silent. Taewon's suggestion of regulations seemed to surprise many representatives. You would accept limitations on how human genetics are shared? Asked the speaker. Yes, Taewon replied confidently. This should be about scientific cooperation, not creating dependencies or power imbalances. The council debated for hours. Taewon remained at the center platform, answering questions from various representatives. By evening, a consensus began to form. The council proposes the establishment of an interspecies genetic research institute, announced the speaker. This neutral organization would facilitate genetic sharing between all willing species, with ethical oversight from the council. And Dr. Han, asked the Adarian representative. His expertise would be valuable to this institute. The speaker turned to Taewon. Would you accept the position of human director within this new institute? Taewon was speechless for a moment. From xenobiologist to galactic genetic diplomat in just a few months, it was overwhelming. I would be honored, he finally said. But I would need to consult with Earth authorities first. As the session ended, representatives from various species approached Taewon. Some thanked him for his willingness to help, while others simply wanted to meet the human who had changed galactic politics. Nari found him sitting alone in the observation lounge afterward, watching the stars through a large window. You did well today, she said, sitting beside him. The council rarely reaches agreements so quickly. Taewon smiled tiredly. When I came aboard your ship, I never imagined I'd end up at the center of galactic politics. From breeding bull to institute director, Nari said with her musical laugh. Quite a promotion. Taewon laughed too. The unfortunate translation error that had once embarrassed him now seemed like the beginning of something important, a new era of cooperation between species across the galaxy. 1 year had passed since the Galactic Council created the Interspecies Genetic Research Institute. Taewon stood in the observation room, watching 5 young Adarian children playing below. Their blue skin glowed with health as they built complex structures with magnetic blocks. They are the first natural-born generation in over 500 years, said Gina, now chief scientist of the Adarian genetic program. No signs of deterioration or weakness. Taewon smiled with pride. These children represented more than just a scientific achievement, they were the future of an entire species that had been facing extinction. How are they developing mentally? He asked. Beyond our expectations, Gina replied. The human adaptive genes seem to enhance neural plasticity as well. They learn faster than previous generations. A small blue girl looked up, noticed Taewon watching, and waved enthusiastically. He waved back, touched by the simple gesture. They know who you are, Gina said. We teach all children about the human who helped save our species. Taewon felt his cheeks grow warm. I was just one part of a large team. A key part, Gina insisted. Without your insight about DNA protection mechanisms, we would still be failing. They walked from the observation room to Taewon's office. As human director of the institute, he now had permanent quarters on the massive station that housed the research facilities. His walls were covered with images from successful genetic collaboration projects across the galaxy. The Trell anti-radiation therapy is showing excellent results, Gina reported, pointing to one image showing insect-like aliens working in a high-radiation environment. Their workers can now safely mine critical minerals from their moon. And the Vorix respiratory enhancement? Taewon asked. Complete success. They can now colonize oxygen-rich planets that were previously toxic to them. Taewon sat at his desk, reviewing the day's schedule. The institute now had over 200 scientists from 38 species working together. What had begun as a simple genetic sharing program had evolved into the galaxy's premier collaborative research center. His communication screen lit up with an incoming transmission from Earth. It was General Park, who had once been so suspicious of the Adarians' intentions. Director Han, she greeted him formally. The United Earth Council has approved your request for expanded human participation in the genetic sharing program. That's excellent news, General, Taewon replied. We have 12 species waiting for human genetic consultants. General Park nodded. The selection process for the new consultants is complete. 20 xenobiologists will depart for your station next month. She paused. This is a far cry from when we thought the aliens wanted to use you as a breeding bull. Taewon laughed. That misunderstanding seems so long ago now. After the call ended, Taewon prepared for his next meeting, a Galactic Council check-in with representatives from all member species. As he walked to the conference room, he passed a group of Kalari scientists, their crystal bodies glittering under the lights. They had once been the most vocal opponents of human genetic sharing. Director Han greeted the lead Kalari researcher. Our analysis of human immune response genes is showing promising results. I'm glad to hear it, Taewon replied. Keep me updated on your progress. In the conference room, representatives from dozens of species had gathered. Some were physically present, while others appeared as holograms. The Speaker of the Council called the meeting to order. Director Han, please present your annual report on the Institute's activities. Taewon stood and activated the main display. In the past year, the Institute has successfully completed genetic collaboration projects with 17 species. All participants report positive outcomes with no adverse effects. He showed images of the various projects: the healthy Adarian children, Trell miners protected from radiation, Vorix colonists breathing freely on oxygen planets, and many others. Most importantly, he continued, we've established a genetic database where all species can contribute their unique adaptations. This allows for carefully regulated sharing of beneficial traits across species lines. The red-scaled representative who had once questioned human intentions raised a hand. And the term breeding bull has been officially removed from all translation matrices? Taewon smiled. Yes. It has been replaced with genetic consultant in all official documents. The linguistic database has been updated to include cultural context for potentially sensitive terms. After the meeting, Taewon returned to the observation room. The Adarian children were still playing, their laughter echoing through the chamber. He thought about how far they had all come. A year ago, he had been embarrassed by a translation error that made him sound like livestock. Now that same misunderstanding had led to the creation of an institute that was saving species across the galaxy. One of the Adarian girls noticed him watching again. She walked to the window and pressed her small blue hand against the glass. Taewon placed his hand against hers on the other side. Different species, different colors, different genetic structures, yet working together to create something neither could achieve alone. This, he thought, was the true meaning of understanding.